A Redmi Note budget smartphone with AMOLED display, decent battery life and capable 50-megapixel camera. Sounds like the Note 12 is set for a successful spell, but how does it perform in reality? Let's inspect. Here it is, the most affordable out of the Redmi Note 12 line this year, and a smartphone which I believe could be very successful because of the 120Hz refresh rate AMOLED display, the 50-megapixel camera and everything else which, if executed in the right way, yes, can certainly put under pressure some other devices like some of the more basic OnePlus Nord series, some of the Realme devices, and definitely that's going to compete with the Galaxy A30 and the A50 line. The launch price is quite attractive. Here I have to point out that the basic Note 12 without 5G support is the cheapest one, and its starting price is almost identical to the Redmi Note 10 Pro's launch price, which is actually good given the significant increase that most new phones are getting. Unboxing experience is exactly the same what you're going to get with the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus, meaning that you will get the basic silicone case, which is nice because Redmi include this protection for free. Here's the phone, the baby blue edition. We're briefed about some of the most impressive specs according to Redmi, and also notice the main camera, which is a 50-megapixel shooter. The phone feels good in the hand, the bezels are surprisingly thin, and that display is actually AMOLED. We can see the speaker cuts, the ports, and the dual SIM tray with a dedicated microSD slot. A power adapter is also included, one of the good 33-watt chargers, which equals to the supported maximum charging speed that Redmi Note 12 can handle. Funny enough, this is more than Google Pixel 7 Pro and even the Galaxy S23. Since I already started to talk about the specs, let's cover the rest. We find the Snapdragon 685, its global debut, with octa-core processor. Configs can be up to 8GB of RAM. You have a few different storage options, mobile connectivity up to 4G, NFC for certain regions, a 5000 mAh battery with the mentioned quick charging support, a triple camera setup, 6.7-inch 120Hz AMOLED display. The phone runs Android 13 out of the box and weighs less than 200 grams. There's an interesting observation to make about the specs. Traditionally, the Redmi Note line is powered by Snapdragon 600 line. No exception here, it's just that this time they launch the 685 with it. It's a slightly revamped edition of the 680 with higher frequency, which would convert into better performance in high-intensive tasks. You can see that design-wise, it looks great. It's very similar to the Pro line. This is the Pro and that's the non-Pro edition. Difference is the back, the material of the back. It feels pretty nice, but this is plastic, but I would say it feels almost as glass and it's almost as slippery as glass, so make sure to have a case on this phone. The bezels are very thin, which underlines the qualities of the display. 120Hz refresh rate display, so that's an upgrade as compared to the Redmi Note 11. As for the rest of the specs, I think it's time to do a bit more testing. In our performance evaluations, the phone was showing rather good pace. It's not a beast. It is nowhere near the high-end product's performance, but with a well-tuned launcher, some reduced animations and optimizations, it could be snappy and is going to handle most daily tasks easily, like playing YouTube videos or opening random websites or enjoying some photos. Don't forget that Redmi didn't go cheap this time and the display is a step up. Furthermore, uses 120Hz refresh rate and watching multimedia can be quite fun. If you like playing games, it's gonna be alright. Most of the games can run in high details graphic mode, meaning that even resource-intensive titles may actually feel good and wouldn't stutter. Unless, of course, the CPU goes into a so-called throttling condition, where it reduces the performance if it goes too hot, something I never actually experienced while testing, and this is well proven by the rather flat curve achieved by the CPU throttling test. It shows that even after 15 minutes on maximum load, the phone doesn't increase its internal temperature too high in order to start limiting the performance, and this is a positive thing. This is yet another smartphone using a triple camera setup, and as usual I would happily ignore the macro camera. If you regularly watch the channel, you would know that I believe those 2 megapixel macro cameras are rather useless and a waste of space. In terms of the other cameras that the phone is equipped with, the most interesting is the 50 megapixel main shooter, which by specifications is almost identical to last year's generation, so that's a Samsung provided image sensor, a very small one. While this is not a big deal for daytime photos, the camera definitely lacks dynamic range, and in low light there's a lot more software intervention as it would be on a high-end camera. But with the good Miui camera optimizations, even low light photography looks great and is even rich in details. I personally liked a lot most of the photos, fair amount of details. Perhaps if you do more often with photography, you're going to notice some imperfections and areas to be improved. But that more or less is the maximum that you can get out of the present hardware. This is why with portrait mode there's a lot of software involvement. Here Redmi Note 12 may struggle a bit. AI in this particular chipset is not that powerful, which combined with the unimpressive hardware produces more unnatural shallow depth of field. In dark, keep your hands steadier so that you don't get blurred areas. The ultra-wide camera is only good for daytime photos. I think there are enough reasons to avoid it for nighttime photography. Kind of sad that there is no telephoto camera. Here you only count on the zoom of the main sensor. Since 50 megapixels is usually quite a lot, even a 3x zoom in daytime won't let you notice any severe image quality degradation. Videos are limited to Full HD resolution. They use electronic image stabilization, which by nature produces more artifacts. And slow motion is among the weaknesses. This is once again because of the hardware, and we of course do not expect more than that from a budget-oriented smartphone. Right, I'm gonna try to keep it static because this front camera doesn't have any image stabilization, not even electronic one, so your best shot to get stable video footage would be to upload to Google Photos and rely on the stabilization over there, but still not ideal and requires some additional tasks to be performed. And how about the microphone quality? What do you think? Let me know. Comment below, do you like the inbuilt microphone inside the Redmi Note 12? You're gonna like a lot the battery behavior. It lasts longer than expected and will let you use the phone intensively for at least a day. Since the processor is not that power-hungry and the software is already well optimized for this kind of hardware, this is rather expected. 33 watts charging is on the bright side, beating many other budget or mid-range, even some high-end smartphone solutions. If software bothers you, that would be no different to the experience with other Xiaomi, Redmi or Poco mid-range devices. Some bloatware, but it's Android 13 and it's one of the most customizable flavors of Android. On the other hand, it has some key differences to the stock Android feeling, such as the grouping of the control center, the way the menus are grouped inside the settings, the kind of animations used, even the launcher is quite specific. Some years ago, Miui used to have the best-in-class dialer, but now it's being packed with the default Google Phone app for messaging and phone calls. On a side note, good network connectivity, good wireless speed transfers, and excellent quality while you're actually making a call. I did, however, notice some annoying behavior by the auto screen off feature during phone calls. Looks like with some models, Redmi still struggled to perfectly tune the proximity sensor. If you want to keep on talking about the drawbacks, the lack of stereo speaker system, the lack of 5G support for the most basic Note 12 variations, the lack of NFC in some regions, there is no decent waterproofing rating, no eSIM support, and the camera could have been tad better at least. In the end, I believe that this phone at this particular price is really good and offers everything that you really need, because typically these kind of value products, they tend to stay away from more premium features. And no, this is not a gaming phone. No, it is not a camera masterpiece. No, it doesn't have a flagship-grade performance, but as we mentioned, it is almost the perfect value pack of 2023 and definitely something to be considered in case you're on the market for a new smartphone on a tight budget, because this is exactly what the Redmi Note 12 is about, at least in my opinion. So, what do you think? Do you like what Redmi have done with this? Do you think it's a notable upgrade over the predecessing generation or generations? And who do you think this is going to compete with? Can it beat Samsung A54? We can talk about that in the comment section below the video. As usual, more information about the product, a link to order it in case you decide to, and of course, some ways to support the channel I'm gonna list in the video description area, but you can start by liking the video, subscribing, and hopefully coming back in a few days' time and seeing our next video. So take some good care, enjoy your day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.